Warning: this will contain spoilers for the first 104 chapters of Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. One of the first things I noted when I read Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest is the biggest difference between it and the original Fairy Tail. The title. Which is kind of a joke, but not really, because unlike the original Fairy Tail, this manga follows a single plot line. In the original, you notice that, at least in the beginning, they mostly get dragged from one act to the other by circumstance. Team Natsu essentially snuck off to Galuna Island to do an S-rank quest. Then when they came back, Phantom Lord had begun attacking their guild. And afterwards, Erza's friends kidnapped her and took her to the Tower of Heaven. And when they came back, Laxus and his team started the Battle of Fairy Tail. While some of these arcs would later have some significance regarding what I would call the main plot of Fairy Tail, you cannot deny that many of them were just essentially stumbled into by the protagonist, or they were dragged kicking and screaming into the arcs. 100 Years Quest, on the other hand, has a very clear and defined goal: to complete the 100 Years Quest and defeat the 5 god dragons, or seal them. But one thing I really enjoyed reading this manga is the sheer hyper nostalgia that Fairy Tail can bring out in me. Fairy Tail is one of the first anime I watched while being aware of what anime actually was. It had the same hype moments, and it had the same moments that made me go, really? Hiromashima? And then I realized Hiromashima isn't actually drawing this. Then I realized he's writing the storyboard. In my opinion, it's a really good sequel manga. Though, like many sequels where they raise the stakes, it does make me laugh. Remember Acnologia and what a huge threat he was? Well, guess what? There are 5 other people like him. Now go slay them. Oh, and one of them's your brother Natsu. Yeah, so he's gonna be your final boss. Enjoy! In my opinion, this sequel manga is actually a pretty good expansion in last one, because its theme regarding power and the way it's balanced does reflect how Fairy Tail treated power in the original manga. The story's plot seems to be focusing on a theme of the consequences of overwhelming power and how it's balanced. The 5 god dragons and Acnologia technically balanced each other out, and now that Fairy Tail is defeating them, it's throwing shifts in the way their balance works, which is putting the world in a pretty precarious situation. The girl we thought was the white mage, Faris, said that her motivation was to white out when people have too much magic. Her intention wasn't to white out all magic, but just to white out too much magic. Which, I gotta say, she kind of jumped into the game a bit late. Like, just a few months ago, Fairy Tail had a source of infinite magic power in its basements. You kind of missed it. And connected to that, Faris's home world, Elentier, is afflicted with essentially too much magic power, to the point where her tribe essentially has to keep it all in balance by whiting out the overwhelming magic to keep the world from destroying itself. It's a pretty interesting concept that doesn't stray too far from Fairy Tail's old ideas. Like I said, before she came back to life and died, Mavis was essentially a source of infinite magic Fairy Tail just never used because it's too much power for them to handle morally. So far, the arcs have been pretty good, though I found Elentier kind of lackluster in its ending. It had some great fights and introduced 2 great new characters who themselves had a great fight, but it ends kind of abruptly with an underwhelming boss fight, and I felt the world itself was underutilized. Though we might come back. One thing that's so notable I found myself talking about it is Wendy, and the fact that she is absolutely carrying everyone. Which makes sense because this is a quest to defeat dragons, who can only be defeated with dragon slaying magic. So the only way Lucy, Erza, and Grey are going to be relevant is if Wendy uses her powers to give them the ability to fight dragons. That's not even mentioning the fact that they'd basically have been useless in Elentier without her ability to enchant people with Spirial. And now she's connecting with Irene, and she's become a high enchantress. Wendy is just absolutely carrying this manga. And I really like seeing Wendy fight. She might be my favorite character in the entire manga. Speaking of fights, the fights are all classic Fairy Tail. They have some frustrating moments, and you have to remind yourself that the power of friendship is a legitimate part of the world building of the story. But beyond that, they're all pretty good. My personal favorites have been Berserk Natsu versus Mercphobia, largely because of future implications for Natsu's character. Everything Laxus does, because it's all a result of his development from the previous manga. Grey, Juvia, Lucy, and Kanye are trying to figure out how to not die while fighting Whiteout Mira Jane is just funny. It's off screen, but it's funny. Suzaku vs. Celine. It's epic and narratively leads to some interesting moments for the both of them regarding their personalities and future goals. Wendy vs. Haku, which I thought ended a bit quickly, but goes really hard for a fight between two 12-year-olds. And finally, the last completed fight in the manga as of me making this video, Lucy vs. Kiria. Once again, we get a shining moment with the character we've seen develop a lot, and my god, Lucy's come quite a long way since her introduction in the first chapter of Fairy Tail. I also really like the way the manga used Kiria, starting her off as an Erza enemy, and then after Erza beat her, she gets, let's be honest, demoted to being Lucy's enemy, and then being defeated by Lucy after a long battle. Plus, Kiria's pretty fun in general. The antagonists have been pretty good. Faris pretending to be the white mage was quite the red herring. I'm a little disappointed, but it's confirmed that there was an actual white mage that Faris basically just assumed the identity of, so we might meet a character with that motivation later on. The current antagonist, Celine, is an interesting take on the idea of ancient beings that are watching humans try to take them out, because she honestly believes that the humans have a chance. She considers them the thing that will finally knock over the balance of the god dragon's powers, and wants to essentially side with them and help them defeat the others to end the age of dragons and properly move into the age of humans, except she will get to live there as the strongest human. It's very rare to see antagonists not underestimate humanity until the moment they're about to die. Though make no mistake, I do fully believe Celine is going to be the next god dragon taken down before I move on to the gold dragon and finally Natsu's final boss, Igneel, who keeps showing up while they're hunting the other god dragons to just remind his brother how fucking powerful he is. Igneel also provides a pretty interesting internal conflict for Natsu because he's Igneel's blood son. I was gonna say actual son, but yeah, Natsu is Igneel's son. Let's not downplay that. Igneel raised him, but like Igneel has Igneel's blood running through his veins, and that kind of creates some insecurity for Natsu, even though he did know Igneel more. And who knows, Igneel might also have some insecurity over the fact that this human knew his father more than he did and actually was there when he died. We don't know. Celine has shown that god dragons can care for the other dragons they are related to. It's a pretty interesting final fight that I'm looking forward to. And I would be purely remiss to not bring up the fact that this manga is, I don't know if it'd be accurate to say feeding or teasing the shipping fans. We got Grey and Juvia's relationship developing. We got confirmation that Levi is pregnant, which everyone knew but was still surprised at. We got Jalal and Erza. And we even get two alternate versions of Natsu and Lucy and Juvia and Grey who are together. The ones from Edolas who are 7 years in the future and have children. And the ones from Fairy Nail, which is just hilarious. An acting guild that basically has a double for everyone from Fairy Tail. And Wendy appears to have gotten her own Juvia. The art can be spectacular and really sell the impact of things. And the plot is actually quite unpredictable, which is not something you would expect from hearing people talk about Fairy Tail, but we gotta admit, Fairy Tail does know how to throw a real misdirection at people. Anything else I want to note? Oh yeah, Gajil turns into a giant and fist fights a dragon so big it has cities on the back of its hands. And I'm 100% confident the only reason the Ghost Dragon Slayer exists is so Natsu could learn thought projection magic, which will come into play sometime in the future. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened yet, but you know, this is the same manga that foreshadowed that the Dragon Slayers are over 400 years old, like 200 chapters before it became even slightly relevant. But those are my thoughts on Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest so far. What are yours? Leave them in the comments below and leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more content. Thank you and good day.